Things got incredibly uncomfortable between Mark Gastineau and Brett Favre at a memorabilia event last year. Let's talk about it.
I'm going to lose my gas-guard bananas. Boy Green Daily starts now. Zoinks!
I made it clear that my intention was to play, and my intention was to play for the New York Jets.
You're fucking wrong!
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Paul Eston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. Hopefully you can hear my voice, everybody, after all the StreamYard issues yesterday. But nonetheless, I'm Paul Eston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, live every single day at 7:30 in the morning. Plus, we have all kinds of bonus shows, so you can stay tuned to the channel. You'll never miss it. If you like the video, hit subscribe, baby. And let's get this party started before we even get to our topics of conversation with a discount double check MFC, baby. Gifting some memberships off the top rope. Not one, but two, baby. You love to see it. Oh, very nice. Very nice. Okay, let's give a shout out to our two new members of the Boy Green Coffee Club, baby. That is David Hall Jr. and Brian Farrell. You have both been added to our running contest, which, by the way, let me flip the little banner here so you guys can all see it. We have an emoji contest and a giveaway raffle contest, both happening concurrently. Whoever gets the most memberships in the month of December will win a custom emoji. We'll give you details on that for the winner, so some competitive energies. And if you give away just a single membership, you have a raffle ticket entered into our giveaway at the end of the month that includes a potential jersey, autograph merch, and all kinds of wonderful New York Jets action. So you guys can feel free to give some memberships. For MFC, that is his 17th gifted membership this month, or 15th gifted membership so far this month. Beautiful. He is well in the race as well. So shout out to MFC, mother_effing_chew, baby. And oh my goodness, it doesn't stop there. Ed Vargas, baby, with a 5-pack special. Oh yeah, baby. Hit him. Ed Vargas, baby, with 5 memberships gifted here on the channel. Let's go. That brings his overall gifted membership total this month to a 10-piece combination. My favorite from McSpanky's. Get a nice 10-piece nugget. I just got a 10-piece membership totality from Ed Vargas, baby. We love to see it. Thanks, Ed. Let's read those new members to the Boy Green Coffee Club. You guys can thank Ed for that. The real Robert Sala. Oh, Bob DiMucci. Bob P, Jerry Moore, Coochie. You guys are all now members to the Boy Green Coffee Club, baby. Thank you, Ed, for all the wonderful surprises. And like I said, you just got 5 raffle tickets to our giveaway at the end of the month, plus some more action for the emoji giveaway. Thank you. Hey, Paul, hope you and the family are well. We're doing much better now, Ed. Thank you, my good sir. And thanks everybody else as well. Keep them coming. Like the video, hit subscribe as you head into the room. So let's get into it. Folks, you may have seen the viral video clip. If you haven't, don't worry, I will play it for you. We've got an ESPN 30 for 30 on the New York Sack Exchange, and boy, will that be interesting. And one of my prized possessions is right here. Folks, you see it on every show. It's this Jets helmet right here. It's signed by all 4 members of the New York Sack Exchange, and God rest the soul of Abdul Salam, who is no longer with us. So this is one of my most prized possessions here, right here. I was going to drag it down, but there's a chance I break a lot of glass. There's some glassings around it, but the long and short of it is, okay, let's still grab it. Here we go. Here we go. Had to avoid some potential damage. Here it is. The New York Sack Exchange. Okay, we got Gastineau, we got Marty Lyons, we got Joe Klecko, and Abdul Salam right there up top. This baby is one of my most prized possessions, and I got this for an absolute deal. Speaking of raffles, it's kind of funny how this turns around. My boy Joshua Rowe, I'll give you a shout out. He said, "Hey, Paul, this It's like a local sports shop. It has a New York Sack Exchange's helmet that I'm holding in front of me. They're doing a raffle giveaway, and it's there's probably a name for it. I'm an idiot, but where there's like 12 slots. They're $20 a slot, and you can buy as many slots as you want. And then we're just going to draw a name out of the hat, and one of the people who bought a slot is going to get the helmet. I said, cool. Why not throw $20 down? See, why not dart throw? I friggin' won. I got $20 and they sent it to me. And like I said, I have a whole package reveal. I did that a couple years ago. The video is flying around somewhere, but boom, one of my most prized possessions, the New York Sack Exchange helmet. Very nice. Pop that down safely right back there. So yeah, it's one of my most prized possessions, man. It's a wonderful ode to Jets history, and boy, are there some moments throughout history. Is there some moments throughout history with this New York Sack Exchange, which makes it very spicy. But, of course, this confrontation I'm about to show you all revolves around Mark Gastineau, who in 1984 set the NFL single-season sack record with 22 sacks. He held that record from 1984 to 2001, and that's because old Brett Favre took a dive in the Packers-Giants game, which gave Michael Strahan the record at 22 and a half sacks, which was stripped away from Mark Gastineau. And, well, the viral video going around is last year at a memorabilia event, Mark Gastineau ran into Brett Favre, and this is exclusive footage to ESPN, so shout out to ESPN, the 30 for 30 crew. They caught that moment. Mark Gastineau was mic'd up for this 30 for 30 thing. He didn't even know Brett Favre was going to be there, and it was circumstance that Brett Favre was there, so he decided to confront him. And, oh, boy, this is uncomfortable, but watch this video if you haven't seen it.
You
I thought we met a long time ago. At least I saw you.
Right.
How you doing?
When you fell down for him. I'm going to get my sack back. I'm going to get my sack back, dude.
You probably would hurt me.
Well, I don't care. You hurt me. You hurt me. You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
You really hurt me. You hurt me, Brett.
We got to get back to this, Brett. I'm sorry.
Anybody will tell you Brett Favre took a dive. And you know it. She knows it. He knows it. And everybody knows it. I didn't know what had happened. The NFL should have stopped that and said, listen, no. That's not a sack. He took my record away from me.
Mark Gastineau's record of 22 sacks in a single season, which he achieved in 1984, stood until the final minutes of the 2001 season.
Strahan gets the sack. And you know what? No one's happier than Brett Favre. He gets the record. Well, he got to give me is what he got.
There was nobody else that wanted Michael to get that more than Brett, and he showed it right there.
Okay. I think we can all agree Brett Favre took the dive on that play. But the fact of the matter is you know, you hear Gastineau there, man. And when that video went viral yesterday, was released, that interaction apparently between Gastineau and Favre from last year, man, Gastineau's hurt. He's in pain. Apparently, there was a follow-up ESPN story where Rich Cimini reached out to other members of the Sack Exchange and other sourcing, and they tried to get Mark, hey, man, don't approach Brett. It happened a long time ago, just like let it go. But he had a look in his eye, apparently, where he wanted to talk to him. I feel a lot, long story short, so a lot of people have trashed Mark Gastineau, saying, how could you hold that grudge for so long? How could you approach Brett Favre with this random thing? Brett Favre's bewildered. He didn't know what was happening. And I just want to say, I side with Gastineau, man. This changed his life. He would have been the sack king for even longer than he was. If I was Mark Gastineau, I would never forget that for the rest of my life. That changes his life, and we're about to read. Brett Favre has responded on Twitter, and I'll read you Brett Favre's response. But I don't blame Mark Gastineau at all, man. Michael Strahan, 100%, got a freebie sack. He took a dive for. And 100%, all of this stuff that Phil's saying, endorsement deals, everything that actually changed, right? Mark Gastineau, so there's a lot of layers here before I even get to Brett Favre's comments. Mark Gastineau being, if Strahan never gets a gimme sack, Mark Gastineau would still be the single season sack king which would have aided his efforts to make the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Mark Gastineau currently isn't in it. It would have changed his endorsement deals and money on his own, which maybe some of you people don't care about, but, on his own of being the sack king, they could have marketed the heck out of that, and Mark could have made more money from that. He didn't because he's no longer the sack king. Strahan got it, and all the wonderful deals that Strahan has gotten. So, J-Boy says, is that the first time he's been in person with him? If so, that's called being a man. Yeah, outside of that game, apparently, by all accounts, that was the first interaction they've had. And Gastineau said he had been waiting a long time to do that. MFC says, wow, he was actually pissed. You could hear it in his voice. So Brett Favre has since responded on Twitter. I'll put this up and we'll read you the thread. It's a very interesting combination of thoughts. It's on Brett Favre's Twitter, so we'll go through it together. I want to clear the air on the footage released showing a small dust-up between myself and Mark Gastineau, the former New York Jet. So here's a thread. Back in 2002, when Michael Strahan sacked me at the end of the game that we had wrapped up, I was in no way trying to hurt Mark Gastineau. I was trying to close out a game and squeeze the last bit of fun out of a hard-fought game. I booted out of a run thinking it would be wide open, saw Strahan standing there and ducked down. The game was over. There was no need for me to do anything spectacular. It probably wasn't Michael's best sack or tackle for loss. In a different game or situation, I would have made a bigger effort to avoid the sack or TFL. But at no point was I thinking about hurting Gastineau. Maybe it crossed my mind to help Strahan. I didn't think it through. That wasn't my forte at the time. I just wanted to have fun and compete. In retrospect, I understand how Gastineau feels. We played a brutal game. Gastineau played during an era where guys didn't make generational wealth. I see how being the sack king would elevate his value at card shows, strengthen his case for the Hall of Fame, increase his demand as a public speaker. I had no way of knowing that then. I realize now that the potential financial implications because football is far more business-oriented than when me or Mark played. There's no malice on my part. Mark was a great player. My understanding is he's a great guy and a fun teammate, a guy who played with the kind of joy and passion I tried to mimic. I understand his frustration, but I'm not his enemy. A while back, he saw me at a card show. This was last year, according to ESPN. This card show happened in 2023. But back to Brett Favre's quote here. A while back, he saw me at a card show and got his frustration off his chest. It's not the kind of moment that should be filmed and released. It was a private moment of frustration between two old football warriors. I have a great deal of respect for Mark. I hope one day he joins me in the Hall of Fame. He earned it. Look at his numbers. He eclipsed 20 sacks twice and had 19 in another year. Mark definitely left an indelible mark on the game. I hope this controversy brings attention to just how great Mark Gastineau was. He belongs in Canton. Merry Christmas, everybody. Brett. Now, I'll say this. I respect Brett for saying all those things that he said. It's very nice. He didn't have to do that. But the most important thing he admitted is that he ducked and took a dive for Michael Strahan. We all knew it. We all know it watching the film. We all know it watching the tape. We all knew it back then. But to hear Brett actually admit it from that dirty mouth. We knew that, Brett. That was the biggest thing he admitted. But putting that aside, it was nice of Brett to say that. You got to feel, awful for Mark Gastineau. And what a compelling 30 for 30 ESPN documentary, the highs and lows of the New York Sack Exchange. A great era of New York Jets football. And an era we hope to get back to or replicate in some way. So, yeah. Brett is a chump, quickly de-escalated. I will say that, that stunning footage right there. Brett Favre obviously didn't know he was going to be running into Mark Gastineau that day or the feelings that Gastineau had or anything of that nature. It was an uncomfortable encounter. But obviously he did take the dive, and that changed a lot of history here. Brett Favre's silly dive, in his words, to try to help Michael Strahan hurt Mark Gastineau. And think about all the success that Michael Strahan has had. And I'm not saying all of it was based on, being the sack king for so long. But I'm going to be honest, that certainly didn't hurt. That certainly did not hurt. And look at old Strahan now. And again, I enjoy Strahan. My favorite pregame show, I said this yesterday on our show, no one could hear, that my favorite pregame show my favorite pregame show is Fox. So I see Michael Strahan every week, and I've seen Michael Strahan every week for like the last 13 years or something, or even longer than that, watching football with my dad. So Strahan's a goofy guy. He's fine. He's fun. He's got a wonderful family, but, that just stinks for Gastineau. Phil, Gastineau was probably tearing up because he wanted to destroy Favre, but was too old. Right, yeah, I don't think he was taking out Favre now. Unbelievable. Yes, Mark Gastineau is battling some. I heard Matt O'Leary say this, like an unpopular opinion, that maybe Mark Gastineau in his current state of health shouldn't be mic'd up. That isn't right. And you can echo those thoughts of Matt O'Leary. He tweeted that yesterday after all the controversy of this video. That's a good point by Matt. Excuse me. That maybe Mark Gastineau in his current state of health, who's been battling all kinds of things, being mic'd up and obviously being a little on edge, and then you have that Brett Favre encounter. Like, I could totally understand what's going on there. Taylor Sterling, if a quarterback helps a defender gets a sack, that is cheating and hurts the league. By the way, Gastineau said what he'd like to do next is speak with Strahan, who he was cordial. Let me rephrase. So Gastineau sets a sack record at 84. That record lasts till 2001, the final game of the season where Strahan gets that sack on Brett Favre and takes his record. Gastineau was at that game because he knew that it was possible that Strahan could top his record, and he was cordial and hugged him and all that. You saw a little bit of that footage after the game, but obviously let his true feelings be known on the subject matter. Yeah, he's been going through it a lot. Phil, Gastineau is one of my favorite players growing up. I know, and we will see it in the 30 for 30 documentary. He's a controversial figure. He was a guy that showboated, and that rubbed some of his teammates the wrong way, who didn't certainly swim in those waters, and certain penalty flags and certain key moments in Jets history. And there's some animosity. There's tension, for lack of a better word, between Gastineau and some of these other members of the New York Sack Exchange. Taylor says Brett should be removed from the Hall of Fame. Well, that's not going to happen, but that's aggressive. But I get your passion for it as well. Yeah, well, you guys are talking about all of Brett Favre's off-the-field activity, which everyone could have a different opinion on. Tony Alexio says, we miss Gastineau, no doubt. I want a refund on Reddick, the JD bust. Yeah, I mean, Hassan Reddick is an absolute epic disaster of crazy proportions. I mean, I just can't believe that this guy was this dominant figure for the Eagles. He has the drama of never showing up, and then when he finally shows up, we have a half-ass effort of like, he has half a sack this year, maybe? I mean, he had a good run defense play where he tripped the Miami Dolphins ball carrier, but we didn't pay him for random run defense tackles. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's one of the biggest disasters in Jets history. Luckily, you didn't give up 12 first-round picks or anything crazy. You gave him a conditional third. That stinks. But he's going to leave the Jets and move on with his career. Taylor Strong asks, why would a quarterback want to help the defender get a sack? I believe Strahan and Favre were friends, and they still are, I believe. So I guess that's it. Now, Gastineau believes it's a whole conspiracy, and before the game, apparently, that Brett and Strahan said, hey, we'll do this to hook you up. I don't know if it goes that far, but I understand why Gastineau's upset. I don't know if it goes that deep. Maybe it was a split-second moment. But he obviously knew. How did you not know? Heading into that game, you knew that it was possible for Strahan. He needed whatever he needed for the game, and Favre gave it to him. So, I mean, come on now. Yeah. Yeah, yesterday was the best show ever, a lot of people say. It was a silent movie. I'm glad to know everyone else had problems. Not that I want everyone else to have StreamYard problems, but yeah, that was a special episode. But the people that called in, you guys saw us all having a conversation. We weren't fake having a conversation. Somehow we could hear each other, but no one else could hear us. It was one of the most bizarre things of all time. But I guess we'll just leave that show up. R&R said he should have sacked Favre right there for number 23. I don't know if that would count, but yeah, especially at this age. I don't know if they'd look back at the record books, but does Mark Gastineau deserve to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? I mean, he was a key piece, obviously, the New York Sack Exchange. There's a lot of off-the-field stuff, I guess, but that's not supposed to matter. That's not. So, I don't know. Although it does, because people vote and that sort of stuff affects it. But, who you are or what you do. Ricky Waters for who for what, that's 100% a reason he's not in the Hall of Fame. Does he eventually get in? I don't know. But, there are extracurricular activities that could keep you out. Tio did sit-ups, crunches in his driveway, and he didn't make it to the Hall of Fame until his third whack at the pinata, which is a disgrace. So we'll see if Gastineau eventually makes it in. What we know is he will be forever recognized as a Jets legend, and that's really important. We'll see if he ever gets into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Not sure. Alan said, sad at 3 and 10 that this is a topic conversation. I would push back, Alan, and say it's regardless of record. I wish this wasn't a conversation. I wish Brett Favre never took the dive, which effed around with Gastineau's professional and personal life. I wish that was the thing. It's irrelevant of the record to me. And plus, we're playing the Jaguars this week, so I think we have some extra wiggle room, you could say. Taylor Sterling says, Pete Rose was banned for cheating. Why should Brett? Well, it's specifically gambling, but, yeah, I don't know. And it's already over now, so like Pete Rose in the moment, we're like, oh boy, that guy's never getting in. Brett seems a little different. That'll forever be a great moment. MFC, Marty Lyons, who got the penalty for the ref going, and at the bubble, he gave him the business. Oh, that's phenomenal. That's one of the greatest ref moments of all time. That is funny. Fastest Food Reviews, a.k.a. Chef Kevin Gilbert, said he called in, couldn't hear anything, but heard there was great combos. Yeah, everyone was trying to talk to you, Chef, in the chat. Or on the show yesterday. We had that kind of Octobox Scott Hansen action going on. And a lot of people seem to, outside of no one that could hear it, but a lot of people in the Octobox that was in the room really enjoyed that, and they want us to try to do that in a future iteration. So I'll look at things to see what we could do for that. Shout out, by the way, our guy, Chef Kevin Gilbert. You have 20 memberships gifted this month with all your super chats coming in. You've just been edged out by Austrian Jet Fan. He's got 22. You got 20 memberships given Chef Kevin Gilbert. So he's beating you right now. But I appreciate all the dedication, brother. It means a lot. I appreciate it. Appreciate the support for the show. But you have 20 raffle tickets right now. Austrian Jet Fan has a few more at 22. Dave Briga. Brett Favre is and was a doofus. Think Jets have now acquired a Packers curse. We have their ex-players and stupid fans. I'm not going to read into that, Dave, and read into who you're referencing there. But, yeah, we might have a Packers curse right now. That's for sure. Phil says, it's a relief not to talk about the draft every second because we're eventually going to get there, Phil, unfortunately. There's another mock draft dropped by ESPN today. I see Jake Ashman's going to have a mock draft show today. So there's going to be a lot of those going on for sure. There's no doubt about it. There's going to be a lot of that going on. All right, let's get to our special guest, baby. He's the Jets reporter for Athlon Sports. He joined us on the radio yesterday and joins us right now. Let's bring him in. Nick Faria, baby. Good morning, Nick.
How's everything going, guys? Sorry I'm a little late. It's been a really hectic morning. Let's just say that.
Oh, no issues, but I'd love to get your take because we played the footage earlier, but I'll assume you've seen it. But if you haven't, we could play it for you again. Did you see the interaction between Mark Gastineau and Brett Favre at the memorabilia last year?
I did. Very, very sad situation. Yes. First off, I think we need to acknowledge, at least right now, that Michael Strahan is not the only one with 22.5 sacks. So even if that sack is taken away, Gastineau still does not have the record. It would go actually right now to TJ Watt. So let's also put that in perspective there, at least in the context of that moment. But you never want to see legends bickering and arguing over plays that happened decades ago, and we are talking now decades ago. I was about 5 years old when Strahan broke the record. And listen, he was a great player. He didn't really need the Favre thing to happen. I appreciate Brett Favre for trying to explain what he was going through in that thought process. That does not mean I am defending Brett Favre the person. It just means that I don't think his intentions were to ruin a record, a historic record like that. But at the same time, Gastineau, you think about the best pass rushers in football in NFL history, and most NFL historians that I talk to, they mention Gastineau's name, but he's never really considered as a top edge rusher, and I think that's wrong. He is a historical defender during his reign. He was fantastic with the New York Jets. And I do believe he deserves Hall of Fame consideration. I think the New York Sack Exchange, they all deserve to have their bust in Canton, because when you have A, such a great nickname like that, and B, back it up with your play in every single level with every single person, you do deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Kind of like the Steel Curtain. Not everyone is a Hall of Famer, but most are. Purple People Eaters, most of them are. When you are historically great, as the Jets were during that era of pass rushing, you deserve to get credit. And now Klecko's been in. That's really great. But I think Gastineau as well certainly deserves his flowers. I'm not going to argue about the sanctity of the 22 and a half sacks. I'm just going to sit here and say I agree with Favre that Gastineau has been kind of forgotten in NFL history for no reason other than his personality.
Yeah, and again, seeing the video, and we all saw it earlier, it's at the beginning of the show. If you guys missed it, you can find it anywhere on social media as well. It's an uncomfortable encounter, a confrontation that apparently, according to ESPN, happened in 2023, last year at a memorabilia event that they both happened to be at in Chicago. But we did also read Brett Favre's Twitter thread where he explained in great detail his side of the story. I would just say this, which is kind of interesting, is that at the end of Brett Favre's thread of comments and thread of thoughts, his kind of things that were going through his head, maybe there can be, while it was uncomfortable and you feel really bad for Gastineau, because obviously this is a very painful moment for him, that he kind of summoned up whatever, I was going to say courage, but maybe courage isn't the right word, but summed up whatever was inside him and say, I'm going to confront Brett. I want to get this off my chest and get it to him. That maybe in a weird way, the unintended consequence, or side effect rather, not consequence, the unintended side effect of this all going viral and the ESPN 30 for 30 documentary that's coming out is maybe this can bring up the conversation of Mark Gastineau for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Obviously, he would have to go in as a senior candidate now. He is far past the 25-year modern era ballot, so he'd have to be a senior consideration, but that eventually worked for Joe Klecko. So maybe, again, despite it all being very weird and uncomfortable, that maybe the light at the end of the tunnel here is maybe in a weird way, this can all help Gastineau get his place in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
And again, it's not to say that he doesn't have a point. I think everyone, when they saw the play, back in the day with Brett Favre and Strahan, everyone thought that he took a dive because he didn't want to get hit. I think Favre's explanation of, we were already winning the game. We had already won the game. It was a rollout. I didn't really want to sort of defend it to the point where I had to take a sack and take a brutal hit from Strahan. So I just did what many quarterbacks now do, and that's just slide and, take the loss and move forward with a W. So I'm not going to sit here and question the sanctity of the record, the sanctity of the play, exactly what happened. I just know that for NFL players who are kind of lost in history, and I think a great example is Kramer of the Green Bay Packers, one of the greatest guards of all time, Jerry Kramer, and he was not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame for decades after his retirement. And the one thing that I think really improved his Hall of Fame candidacy was his guest appearance on the Vince Lombardi documentary. They had that HBO series where they talked about Vince Lombardi's life. It essentially became a football life. And Kramer was a big-time guest on that. And the conversation surrounding Kramer and his career and the impact that Lombardi had on him, where Lombardi is saying, son, you're going to be the best guard in football. I think that started opening the door a little bit to Kramer and his own Hall of Fame candidacy. So I think this certainly, this documentary, the 30 for 30, could do a lot of help for Gastineau. At the same time, it's 100% tragic. You never want to see legends like this go after each other over records. You know, you see players all the time argue, hey, would you be happy if player X broke your record? Would you be happy about your record falling here? And some of them aren't really pleased about that because they don't want to be forgotten. It's really just an unfortunate situation altogether.
Yeah, but Brett Favre 100% took a dive, that bastard. But that's all right. And like I said, now to your point, T.J. Watt, what would that be? 20 some odd years later, after Strahan quote unquote broke the record, that he got it again. Although just Gastineau would have held it all to his own for 40 some odd years if we didn't have what happened with Strahan. But anywho, screw that bastard. But we do love that this 30 for 30 is coming out. And we should actually have a guest from that 30 for 30 directorial team over there. We'll keep you guys posted on that to help promote the 30 for 30 and get some behind the scenes details. That should be interesting. All right, Nick, what we'll do here is we'll take our quick normal hep time out here and we'll open up the phone line so everyone can tell you how much they love you to your face. I'm sure there will be no yelling or any angry questions or any breakfast orders about pancakes. I'm sure there won't be coming up. So guys, a quick TO and up next your phone calls.
Bug me daily, bug me daily, bug me daily. Talking just football, man. Bug me daily, bug me daily, bug me daily. The New York Jets Football Club. Wow. Offense, defense, special teams. Watch the Super Bowl season with Boy Green. J-E-T-S. Jets. Boy.
Booyah, baby. That's one of the greats of all time. If you'd like to call into today's show, it's a pinned comment on youtube.com/boygreen25. We're also streaming live on our Heavy on Jets Facebook page. Again, I am the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. And also we're on Twitter as well. But if you'd like to call into the show, hop on over to YouTube and you can do so. If you have a question for our Jets reporter, Nick Feria of Athlon Sports or anything of that nature. Let's bring him in, a good buddy of Nick's. That is Johnny Boy here on the program. Johnny?
Morning, Nick. Morning,
Hey,
Boy Green. Just happy that the Mets signed Soto.
It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day.
I'm just glad it wasn't the Yankees, because fuck the Yankees. And then I'm also glad it wasn't the Dodgers. Fuck the Dodgers. So, like, by all accounts, it's wonderful news.
Oh, you forgot that other middle team. You forgot that middle team that was trying out as well.
Who's
trying
that?
to get Soto. Your squad, the Sox.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I guess I didn't get him either. But I will tell you, for people who don't know, baseball is kind of like my fourth or fifth sport. So while it would have been cool, how would it not be cool to get Juan Soto? To me, the greater impact of my radio partner is a diehard Mets fan, the topics. And again, not going to either of those two locations. I'm like, you know what? Not bad. That's how I feel. So congratulations, Mets people. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Enjoy the Juan Soto experience.
Just wait till they trade for Crochet in Chicago.
Oh yeah, I'm hearing all those whispers, man.
It's gonna be glorious.
So real quick on the whole Mark Gastineau thing, right? Be real quick in regards to that.
Sure.
And foremost, Mark G, I hope he's all right, because anybody that really follows him, he's been sick like a very long time.
I didn't want to bring that up because I didn't have all the information, but I'm not sure what he has. Certainly, I think that plays a part in it, though.
Yeah, he's had multiple things. So, like, that's why it's hard for me to even say, because there's been multiple layers of very serious things for him. So, again, I mentioned it before you came on here, Nick, and Matt O'Leary tweeted it out. So I saw Matt say it, that maybe we shouldn't have Mark Gastineau in his current state of health being mic'd up because he's a little on edge with everything that's going on. Maybe that isn't fair to be broadcasting that to the world, which is a fair comment. Brett Favre sort of indicated that too on his thread, that maybe he shouldn't have been mic'd up for that moment, and they just could have had their own private conversation without the world seeing it. But yeah, it's a fair point.
And the other thing too, in regards to that, let's be honest, man. The only reason Brett Favre came out and wrote that tweet or whatever, right, was because this got so much traction.
Of course.
He had to put something out there in regards to that. Other than that, if this wasn't being recorded or this wasn't put out like that, he wouldn't give a crap, man. He never cared for how long. And now all of a sudden, oh, my bad and blah, blah, blah. When you watch the video, he's smiling as he's getting tackled. Like, he's legit smiling.
Oh, the 2001 player talking about.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So, but anyways, it is what it is because Nick did made a valid point. I mean, the Watt, he has it now, so it is what it is. But again, it is what it is. At this point, I'm excited for the actual documentary coming out. That was like during my dad's real like fandom era in regards.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we're looking forward to watching it together.
Yeah, it was really much of a thought at that point.
I was born already, so
Yeah, that was. I got to. I don't even know if they were still together at that point when I was born, but I saw the. My father certainly experienced it, so yeah. Tail end there.
And Mark G, that was my dad's guy, man. So that was the first jersey I ever had in regards to that as well. All right. But since yesterday we had technical difficulties, right?
We did.
I wasn't able to speak in regards to this, and I wanted to talk about this. And now that Nick's on, this is awesome. So I can get both of you guys' thought. Boy Green on heavy.com, he had put out an article in regards to Aaron Rodgers being injured. Now, we all kind of knew about it. We spoke in regards to that and stuff like that, but now it's coming out, right? That it's a tear in his hamstring, MCL sprain. Then he has his ankle injury in the whole 9, right? Now, do you guys think because of this, he does come back? And I think the locker room is really rallying behind him because of this. And if so, right, do you guys believe that he'll probably take some type of his contract is going to go ahead and be reworked again to where it's not destroying the actual cap, if he cares so much about the team? Wanted to get you guys' thoughts in regards to that. So yeah, I'll shut up.
Beautiful. Yeah, thanks, Johnny. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, it's a complex process. First off, with Rodgers and all these injuries, is there a chance he could return to the Jets? Sure. I've mentioned before that it's going to come based on whoever is hired as the head coach and general manager. If Mike Vrabel is the guy and Vrabel pounds the table that he wants Rodgers as his quarterback, then I'm sure the Jets would be willing to bring Rodgers back for the 2025 season. But there's also a chance he could retire with these injuries. I mean, he's 40. He's going to be 42 years old. He's dealt with multiple lower body injuries. There's no real guarantee that he'd be just willing to play right away, even with this recovery time. So I think that's also part of the equation. In regards to this whole situation, Johnny mentioned a rallying cry. He's been playing hurt all year. The rallying cry has been there. It just hasn't worked. And there's so many different reasons why. Rodgers' play has been a problem. The other offensive players have been a problem. The defense has struggled since the firing of Robert Saleh. So I'm not going to sit here and say that there's been this one true rallying cry where he's going to be able to turn this season around. I've mentioned before, there is no benefit moving forward to the Jets winning games down the stretch. Any win they pick up is going to be meaningless because there's going to be a new coach and a new general manager. Last year, there was a benefit to winning down the stretch because you wanted to build some semblance of confidence going into next season with the regime returning. There is no regime returning. So there is no point to say, oh, we're building something here. We're building a couple more wins. You just want to see young players develop, young players producing, and that's it. That's really it to this point. So if Rodgers is playing well down the stretch and it entices someone like Vrabel, okay, that's great. But wins and losses are not going to be a factor here. They need to start losing a lot more games. They need to just continue to lose out the rest of the season because there's just no benefit going into next year with a 6-11 record as opposed to 3-14.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I can't remember which reporter wrote it, but basically, I think it was Zach Rosenblatt. It said Woody Johnson's given up on the season with no GM, no head coach, so now we're just kind of a dead man walking here through the final bit. There is no momentum to be had. If the Jets what are they now? 3-10. So
3-10.
what's that? 3 games. So that you win out through the final games of this season. That does nothing in terms of whoever is taking over. So that part doesn't seem to have a direct impact on what's going to be happening here. And Frank just mentions, and they unfortunately will beat the Jaguars. That was, and I said this before this final stretch, that the only game I could really see the Jets winning without it being some wonky thing was the Jaguars game. And that has not proven to be true because they were very close against Seattle, and they were very close this past week as well against the Dolphins potentially winning. But the Jaguars, as much as the tanking crowd is like, we should probably lose this one, it's hard for me to imagine the Jets losing to the Mac Jones-led Jacksonville Jaguars. What's your thoughts on that, Nick?
I agree. I do think Doug Peterson is trying his hardest to show that he's the right guy for the job. And I think Jacksonville could play a lot harder than New York for their head coach. I mean, by all accounts, they love Peterson. They just stink. And I think Peterson could be out the door. So, maybe they play harder for him. Maybe Ulbrich gets out coached again by someone who I think has been a little overrated over the last few years.
Fair enough. Let's go back to the phone lines. I got our guy Hep here on the show. What's up, Hep?
Hey, Paul. Hey, Nick. Hey, fellas.
How's it been going?
A quick thing on Gastineau. A couple of things was he was one of the first guys to do the really crazy celebrations, and the NFL, the old timers really didn't like that. Yeah. But the other thing is that he broke the strike line, the picket line. Remember, he came in with that. Right. And I think that's what they're holding against him as far as the NFL Hall of Fame bit. I'm not sure exactly, but time heals all wounds, unless your name is Pete Rose. And then, but anyway, that put aside, I was wondering, Nick, do you think that Breece Hall could be a possible trade if we can get a second and maybe a few mid-round picks for him with the emergence of Allen and Davis?
He certainly could be. I think it would be a catastrophic mistake to move on from a player like Breece Hall for a number of different reasons. First off, you are watching in real time the NFL shape back to what it originally was, where the quarterback position is still the most important position in football. That's never gone away. But defenses have gotten smaller and they've gotten faster, which means bigger, stronger guys on offense really, really help you out and can be a advantageous piece for teams that are trying to compete for a championship. I look at Breece Hall and his blend of power and speed, and I see someone who can really do damage in the modern NFL under proper coaching. To get rid of him would be, to me, a catastrophic mistake. He is one of your core pieces. Just because your core piece is a running back does not mean that you are in the middle of a sunk cost. It just means that you need to make sure that you get these other pieces figured out as well.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Appreciate the call, Hep. And yeah, I would say that's another piece of the equation we don't often talk about. There's a lot of tension, I keep using that word, between the members of the SAC exchange. And again, God rest the soul of Abdul Salam, who just passed here recently. But that breaking the picket line, the strike that Hep is talking about, that's another big reason that there's a lot of beef between him and Gastineau was the one who did it. So yeah, there's a lot of additional hoopla going on, which again we'll learn even more during the 30 for 30 documentary.
I don't think that's the reason he's been held out of the Hall of Fame, though.
The Hall of Fame, yeah, I don't know, yeah.
Unless that's what Hep wasn't leading to, I thought that's what he was talking about. I don't see him crossing the picket line being one of the reasons why the NFL is holding him out for Canton. There are plenty of veterans who were held out, who sort of broke that line during those early 80s and late 80s strikes. So it's not to say that he was the only person that did it. That's just not true. There are many other reasons why he's been held out. I think, maybe the celebration dances rub people the wrong way, as Hep said. That's certainly part of the consideration. I just don't think it's crossing the picket line itself.
Yeah, like I said, that certainly is a foundational root of some of the issues with some of his teammates. But for the Hall of Fame, who knows? All right, let's go back to the phone lines. Keep them coming, everybody. We got a couple hundred people in the room. We appreciate it. Like the video, hit subscribe. And again, the scrolling ticker has all the details, baby, on our raffle giveaway. Every gifted membership, or some people are have issues with the gifting of memberships. You guys can always use the super chat instead. Every membership for Boy Green Coffee Club is $2.99 a month, so just factor that into your super chatting, and we'll add that as we've done for our next guest, Chef Kevin Gilbert, baby, joining us here on the show, who's second place right now in the contest. Well, wink, wink. What's up, what's up, Chef?
Hey, BG, Nick, how y'all doing?
Excellent. Thanks, man. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. I tried yesterday, man. I really wanted to hear what was going on. That's why I called in. And, you know, unfortunate situations or whatever. But yeah, hopefully, I don't know if that's like files of lost tapes where you're able to maybe put that up another time or whatever.
We'll have to see, because I went back through, because after the show, because Jake Asman was texting me. He's like, "Hey man, I'm having problems with my StreamYard. Did you have any issues this morning?" I'm like, "Holy freaking crap! It's not just me. Thank God." I'm like, "I just bought this computer and this whole setup." I'm like, "For God's sakes, I hope I don't have to Christmas discount double check and go get something." And he said that. And I'm like, "Oh really?" And then I went back to listen to the YouTube show. It's just a lot of. And no one knows. So, like, I'll remember it up here. We'll see if we can find the lost files. Maybe that's a Boy Green After Dark or something. I don't know.
Just, hey, man, like last year or this past season for baseball when the Mets was beating up the Yankees.
Yeah.
You know, we let the Met fans, say what they had to say and all that. And then when they didn't make it to the World Series, we comfort everybody and whatnot. Now with what you just said, BG, F the Yankees. Dude, that was, like part of my Guatemalan, but that was like a kick to the nads, man. Like,
I'm so sorry.
Damn, man. BG saying F the Yanks? I'm like, damn, I thought
they just disgust
cool.
me. Yeah, they just disgust me. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the arrogance. I don't know if it's the, hey, we won a bunch of world championships during the Great Depression. I don't know, but it's just always thrown around all over the place. So, but I'm glad that we can, we could come together on all things Jets, but the Yankees is where we part company. Yeah.
I'm happy that he's with y'all, man, for real. Like, I didn't want him going to the Dodgers.
I'm happy
God forbid, the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Like, it's good, and there's a reason why. Like, there's no way that as good as Soto is, that he could be in the Bronx as Robin. Like, he needs to be on the other side over there, be the man, go against us. And I feel like the competition level is only going to increase. A lot more eyes, more viewership is going to happen because of this. Is great for the area. Like, we definitely need this. But I mean, happy. I wasn't one of those guys that was crying, man. The Yankees will still do what they have to do. I know we just signed another pitcher.
Yeah, to a record deal too. Yeah, what was his name? The Fried kid? Who was
Max Fried?
Yeah, Max Fried. There it is.
Fried.
Yeah,
who helped, by the way, that helped the Mets. That helped the Mets because he was an Atlanta Brave.
That's right.
Oh yeah. So by virtue, our enemy's friend or friend's enemy, that all works out. Beautiful.
But yeah, it didn't really mean to lead off with that or whatever. It was just, I got
lead off. I see what you did there. All right, Chef Kevin Gilbert's cooking early this morning.
Yeah.
Hey now.
So with that Gastineau stuff, man, I'm not gonna sit here and say, I know a whole bunch.
Sure.
But it definitely hurt seeing how hurt he was and seeing Brett like in that clip. Like, I remember the clip. I remember him going down, but it didn't really like settle in for me, like how monumental that was and how big of an issue that Gastineau took it. And I feel him. I understand. And with Brett, I know a lot of us don't really like him. He had an amazing career. He still got that consecutive start streak or whatever. That will never, that thing will never be broken.
I don't think so.
Nah, just because, dude, he's the walk-in definition of CTE. Like, nowadays, when you just get hit a little bit, like they're putting you in the tent, and then you're out for a week. Like, how physical this game is, there's no way that anybody's gonna break that streak. And he's gone through a lot, losing his pops, broken like his thumb and all kinds of stuff. He's a warrior, still fought through, but like what he did on the field is like, a lot of us go by that. The off the field stuff, like after he retired, like not a lot of us could really get behind what he did but with him, like as you read my comment before, BG, like he did de-escalate. He didn't like fight fire with fire. He kind of just let Gastineau just rattle off,
Get it off his
his
chest.
hurt. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly. Which I appreciate
I
from
thought he handled
from
that
Brett.
well. I agree.
Yeah,
I do. So, Johnny Boy, shout out to him. What I don't really know what was that about, where the medical staff cleared Rodgers knowing that he had something torn in his leg. Is like the medical staff, those MFers, they got to go too. Like, what the hell's going on?
Maybe Nick can provide additional details. So for those who missed
Yep.
it, let me just because we didn't do a full show on it, but Jay Glazer, this is before the Dolphins game on the Fox pregame show. He has a inside the scoop, or whatever the segment's called, and he normally has some juicy stuff that no one else has, and that's why I love that pregame show among other things. And he said that Rodgers has. Let me make sure I read it specifically. Let me get my reading glasses out here. I had the tweet up. 1 second. Let me get it right here, and I'll read it out to everybody here. Here we go. All right, so this is what Jay Glazer reported. This is before the game. That these are the things that Aaron Rodgers is dealing with. A grade 2 hamstring strain, which the direct quote from Jay Glazer is really a tear, an MCL sprain in his knee, and a high ankle sprain. So apparently he's going through all of that this season, according to Jay Glazer, who's one of the best reporters of the business. So throwing from what Chef just said over to you here, Nick, obviously those things had to have been medically evaluated, because it's not Rodgers telling Glazer, hey, I got a grade 2 hamstring strain. How would he have heard of that? So like the Jets doctors must have diagnosed that, for lack of a better word, and I guess he's just been playing through it. What's the behind the scenes on that?
So I think we have to remember, first off, this is the quarterback. If this was a receiver or running back, he wouldn't be playing. He wouldn't. That's just the reality of the situation. The golden piece for a quarterback is his arm. That's it. So that's the first piece. The second piece is we have seen players go through major injuries during the season and play through it. And the training staff understands. And what they do is they try to help the player manage the pain as best they can for football Sundays. These conversations are very complex, because the trainers go in and say, I don't think he should be playing. The player says, screw you, I'm playing. And then it's, okay, well, he's playing. Let's try to figure out how to keep him healthy. Remember, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he was dealing with a major injury last season as well. I'm not entirely sure. I can't remember what exactly it was, but he was dealing with a major injury last year. That doesn't mean to say that Detroit was, keeping him from the injury under wraps, or saying that he was, the training staff never caught it. They caught it. It's just a matter of they helped him play through the pain. So it's a clear demarcation point, a clear difference between the perception of what injuries normally happen in the NFL and what the training staffs are required to do in those situations. If the player feels he's good enough to play, and the coaching staff feel he's good enough to play, but the training staff recognizes that he has an issue, then their job is to make sure that he can play to the best of his ability.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's just frustrating to know that this has happened this whole time. For injury report purposes, that wasn't supposed to be on no injury report because he was cleared by the medical staff?
He was on the injury report. It's
That's
just
true,
that
yeah.
the decision of will he play or not comes down to coaches, Rodgers, front office executives, and the training staff. So the training staff could have said, I don't think he should be playing. And that goes to Woody Johnson, and Woody says, I don't think he should be playing. But if Rodgers, Saleh, and Douglas said, no, he's playing, he's playing.
That's right.
Yeah, so I would say the only thing I would add here, Chef, is to your point on the injury report. Obviously, they didn't get specific, and rarely do NFL teams do, unless there's some obvious, for instance, Jonathan Brooks down in Carolina. He blew out his ACL. There's no hiding that. Yeah, he blew out his ACL again, unfortunately. But yeah, we didn't get all the hamstring tear and the knee sprain and the high ankle sprain. Good Lord. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is dragging his tallywhacker out there, for God's sakes. Like, what is going on? It's just
that's ridiculous.
Pretty crazy.
And then if you don't mind, just two quick things.
Please,
is there any leeway on the GM and head coaching vacancies?
Nothing yet.
Right.
They're still early in this process. They have been looking through candidates for the last month since they fired Douglas. It's why they made that decision early in the season,
Mm-hmm.
or early, I would say, in the process. But I haven't heard anything where they've highlighted one particular person just yet.
Quick follow-up on that, Chef. Something I would pay attention to is the Flight Deck podcast, Flight Deck, DECK podcast with Rich Samini. Last week, he emptied his notebook on head coaching stuff, which obviously gave us the Vrabel nugget, which we'll do another show on. We tried to do that show yesterday. We'll do another show on that this week because I still find it interesting fodder. He's supposed to be doing a general manager dump the notebook piece this week. So he had interesting nuggets on the head coaching one of people they're thinking about, people, some sourcing and stuff he's already done. So I'll be fascinated because the GM one to me is even harder. Like coaches, we can all say, what about this guy, this guy, this guy?
Mm-hmm.
The GM list to me is like a big list of friggin' names. I'm like, assistant to the regional manager, assistant to this regional, assistant to that regional. I have no idea what any of this means or whether these guys good, bad, and different. There's a few I like for a draft story here, a draft story there, but I don't have a lot of chutzpah on the general managers around the candidates around the league. So that Rich Media podcast coming this week should be interesting. Go ahead, Nick.
The other piece to that also has to be included is the fact that the Jets need to figure out what they want their front office structure to be.
Sure.
If they want to go after Mike Vrabel, well, then Vrabel's most likely going to be the guy that wants, say, in the general manager hire. He's going to want, say, in roster deployment and draft status and everything like that. So to me, it goes back to who do the Jets want as their target, their top targets overall as both GM and head coach. Whether that's one or the other first, that remains to be seen. But that's the first thing that needs to be solved, and it's the first thing that the Jets are working through right now.
Nice, thank you guys. And this, I'm crucial. This is just the last issue that I'm having with my fantasy league right now, my big money league. Where now, I'm in, because I'm a stupid loyal Jets fan. Like I rode with the Jets defense, and because of that, like I missed first and second place getting a bye. So now this week, who do I start? The Jets going against the Jags, or Tampa Bay going against the Chargers?
Oh, well, now you're, to me, I feel like you're pocket committed. You got to go Jets now. But, like, boy, if they had another matchup, I would have ditched the Jets. It's hard. I'm a fantasy football player, too. There's a few Jets I rode. There's a few Jets, unfortunately, I just had to dump and move on. And the Jets defense is one of them. Early in the season, I said, oh, baby, the Jets are going to be the number one defense. And I made a trade for the Jets fantasy defense earlier this year. And then, like, after 2 or 3 brutal performances, I'm like, it's just not going to happen. If it is, it's happened for someone else. And then I went to other options. So 100%, man, I think you got to ride them this week.
I think the matchup tells you Jets. You play in Mac Jones as opposed to Justin Herbert on the other side. I think you still got to roll with the Jets.
Yeah. All right, cool. Thank you guys, Nick, BG. Appreciate y'all, man. Have a good one.
Thank you, Chef, and thank you for all the contributions that you've been making with the Super Chats. They made a tremendous difference. Thank you so much. And speaking of this, we just got a beautiful, wonderful gift under a Christmas tree. I didn't know that Christmas was on December 11th, but gosh darn it, it feels absolutely beautiful. It is for Lily in Big D, gifting 5. Count them, 5, baby. One, not 2, not 3, 5 times. Boy Green Coffee Club memberships. Yeah, baby. The 5 new members to Boy Green Coffee Club. Joshua Langley, Big Will, Extinguish the Guilt. That may be difficult. James Kennedy and Cactus Johnny. You guys are all now members to the Boy Green Coffee Club. And for Lily in Big D, you have now increased your memberships gifted this month to a 20-pack. You have now entered the conversation and tied Chef Kevin Gilbert. We've got 3 people in our top 3 right now. Number 1 Austrian Jet fan, 22 memberships gifted. For Lily in Big D, 20. Chef Kevin Gilbert, 20. And right around the bend is MFC, mother_effing_chew. It's getting spicy. You love to see it. Beautiful. All right, let's go back to the phone lines here. Who do we got next? A cup of Philly noodles. Great.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, what's up, man? Good morning.
Good morning. Nick, good morning. Paul Boy, good morning.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, Celebration Mets. I got my winter Christmas green.
Very nice.
Exclusive corduroy.
Yeah.
That's exclusive for Soto.
Nice.
Gastineau should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, this is like a yearly thing. It's kind of pathetic it hasn't happened, but always shaming the Jets. It is what it is.
It's gonna now. Here's the problem. Like I said, because we passed. So for people who don't know how the Hall of Fame works, so 5 years after you retire, you're eligible, and then you're eligible for 25 years. You get 25 years on the modern era ballot. If you don't make, right. If you don't make it past that 25 years, then you get shoved into the senior category, and it is a graveyard of bodies of really, really awesome players that are just hanging around forever. And thankfully, the Hall of Fame for the Centennial class made it so they can add more from the senior committee, but it takes a lot of other steps to get there. So Mark Gastineau has been buried in there for a while, unfortunately, because his career is long been over. But we'll see if he can make it in there. Hey, it worked for Klecko. Maybe eventually it'll work for Gastineau.
I think it will. So just hearkening on Johnny's Aaron Rodgers take, like we all can't help it, right? Like it's a take. So I just got a few points here. I'm going to hit him as fast as I can, guys.
Okay.
So let's just talk about the season, and this is based off of before last week's game.
Okay.
So fourth highest percentage of drops, Jets. Fourth highest batted balls, Jets. Sixth highest drop percentage, Jets. Now that makes it seem like, all right, it's not Aaron's fault. Now here's where it gets bad. This is where it gets bad.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Third highest bad throw percentage, Aaron Rodgers. Fifth highest bad throwing yardage, Aaron Rodgers. 14th lowest on target, like middle of the field. That's like middle pack of quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers. 10th most blitzed, but third lowest hurries on him, with the eighth most hits because he can't get out of the pocket, with 16th pressure, which is middle of the pack. So the O-line is there. It's capable. He's just prancing in there. And if he's hurt, well, then you shouldn't be playing. With the 23rd most press rate allowed. So, again, when you drop to the next category, you're like, Jesus Christ, this is the reason why. Fourth least scrambles with 11. That's lower than the bottom other four. The Cowboys with a broken Dak Prescott every year. The Falcons with a recovering Achilles Kirk. Rams with aging Stafford. And the Raiders. Like, if it doesn't scream, he can't get it done. When every other team has got a quarterback that's younger that can move, I don't know what else. Like, that right there is it. Like, that to me spells it.
Here's why I'm going to disagree. First off, the scramble rate. We need to acknowledge that people coming off a torn Achilles are not going to be prone to scrambling. It's very difficult to be able to just magically come back that first year without the Achilles injury. Second, I think the Rams are doing A-okay with Matthew Stafford not scrambling around like he used to. It's okay to have an aging veteran quarterback on your roster who's not moving around as much anymore. You can win with a true pocket passer. It's always been the case.
Yes.
But I will say, if we're looking for Rodgers to be the all-time great, it was always going to be a little difficult. I always thought an average Rodgers would be good enough to end this Jets curse, but he hasn't been average for a number of different reasons. I wouldn't say it's because of his lack of scrambling, though. I'll leave that out there.
And hey, by the way, let me throw this in here. Aaron Rodgers is only 5 touchdown passes away from the 500 touchdown club. So, 4 games to go. That's going to happen, man.
Everybody's like, he's going to break so many records. It's like, I don't care how many records are broken. The last guy I had in here that got me anywhere was Fitzpatrick. Oh, okay, he broke his records for Jets for that one time. But before that was Mark Sanchez. And I got the 2 AFC championships.
That's true.
Stats don't matter to me. You win the game, you win the game. Look at Patrick Mahomes, one of his worst seasons.
More of that. I am so sick and tired of hearing passing yards being the metric for good quarterback play. I can't stand it.
All right, so I'll bring this in real quick. So last bit of stuff I have.
Sure.
9th most RPO plays, which is like, oh crap. 8th most RPO yards, because we're that high and using the RPO. 54 pass attempts to only 24 rushes, with 402 passing yards to only 108 run yards. So you're not running an RPO, so you're not afraid of a run, which is gonna open up the offense to just a pass, which means you can only throw it as far in front of them where they're going to know you're not going to go over open the top, because they know you're going to they know Aaron's not going to take the ball and run up the middle. So
Well,
when you're trying to throw that many RPOs, what's the point? It's a waste.
An RPO is really just based on what the defense is showing. It's not, we are going to pick and choose run or pass. It's okay, the defense is creeping up the box a little bit, so we're going to have the RPO at our disposal, where if they crash the running play, our quarterback can still tuck it and throw the ball. So RPO is a very important and efficient play, but if there's a large discrepancy, that doesn't mean that they have an unwillingness to run. It just means that teams are trying to play the run in those situations more.
And I mean, in the end, it does spell where what was it? Hep, he brought up Breece Hall. He's having it down here, obviously.
Sure.
And
yeah.
I don't know what the mental thing is. It's 5 fumbles. If he comes back, I see another fumble happening. I'd rather not even play. I'd rather IR stent him, really, honestly.
Well, I just want him healthy. So,
Yeah.
if he doesn't really have an injury, he does. But if he really didn't have an injury, I don't want him to magically go on IR for no reason. But he seems to have a really serious injury. So let's just play it safe. And again, I get it doesn't mean anything to Jeff Ulbrich because a new regime's taking over. But, let's have everyone as healthy for 2025 as possible. I think that's the key, Philly Noodles. And also, we have a bunch of memberships coming in. MFC with a gifted membership. Let's go, baby. Beautiful. And then on top of MFC's one, and I will update the leaderboard here in a second, FL Phil 98 with a 5-pack combination. Oh, my. All right, let's give a shout out to all the new members to the Boy Green Coffee Club. R&R was gifted that from MFC. Shout out to you, sir. FL Phil 98 gifted memberships to Mr. Chill 211 King, John Sauer, Joe Rano, Hector Cabrera, Wild Wave. You guys are all now members to the Boy Green Coffee Club. And update the leaderboard. MFC is at 16 memberships gifted this month. FL Phil 98's up to 15. There were 2 extra under the pillow that I forgot to count earlier this month in early December. So FL Phil 98, shout out to you. You are now at 15. Number 1 Austrian Jeff Fan 22. Fleur Lily and Big D 20. And Jeff Gavin Gilbert 20 as well. And shout out to MFC who's at 16. That's a lot of math that I did not know was going to be a part of this program. That is for dang sure. Absolutely. And let's get a member shout out here. Philly Noodles, who we just had on the show, would like to send a message from beyond. Wow. 78 people, get those likes up from 30 to 78. I got 300 people watching on this side of the coin. So for the love of Pete, show your support. Even if you can't financially dip your toes in the water, feel free to like the video, hit subscribe. That is a free way to contribute to today's program. All right, let's go back to the phone lines here. We've got Ricky New York Live. What's up, Ricky? Ricky? I feel like, Adrian! Ricky, I'm so sorry. While we wait for Ricky's Wi-Fi to return to this century, Philly Noodles gifted a Boy Green Coffee Club membership, baby. Okie dokie, it's raining. It's just raining. From the high heavens, baby. And let's shout out Jet Life 321. You have just been gifted a Boy Green Coffee Club membership, baby, you handsome bastard. Beautiful. Let's put Philly Noodles on the board. I just wanted to confirm. All right, Philly Noodles is your first gifted membership this month. Welcome to the show, baby. And you just got yourself a raffle ticket, baby. All you want is a ticket to the dance. I recommend everybody watches the show. At least try one, because one could be just enough. Obviously, the people that gift a lot more memberships have an even better whack at the pinata here, but that certainly puts you in a different conversation. Okay, wait, I think I have Ricky head movement. That should be a good sign. Let's go back. Ricky New York Live?
Hey, what's happening, Paul?
Oh, there he is. Oh, thank God. I was worried about your health and safety. Welcome back to the show, Ricky. Great to have you.
Hey, how you guys doing this morning?
Good.
Hey, Nick. Did you hear what happened on the Boy Green show yesterday?
I did not.
Neither did anybody else.
Yeah, StreamYard was down. I don't know if you knew this, Nick, but StreamYard was down. So, I did a show, and then at first everyone's yelling at me, "We can't hear you. We can't hear you. We can't hear you." I'm checking on my settings. I'm like, "Oh, I can hear myself, but okay." And then so I restart the show again. No one could hear me. I'm like, "Oh, wow, this is weird." So I just start doing weird stuff. People start sending in, money. Hey, describe the Jets season as a mime. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, here we go." And then eventually people start calling in. They said, "Hey, let's see if that works." And people called in and no one could hear our conversations, but I could hear the conversations with the people that were on the show. So there's some weird. You guys could go listen to it. I've changed the name of the episode of Boy Green Daily, a silent movie. You're going to see a lot of people on the screen just like waving their hands and doing things like it's some. And you're going to keep like, oh, is my mute button off? Which I had a lot of people doing throughout the show. Like, what the? Is my computer not working? Is it everybody else? It turned into a whole thing. So yeah, it's great to be back. And it was StreamYard across, the globe. So yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, what once Johnny had called in, and I couldn't hear anything, but it looked like you guys were having a conversation. I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe that's the way to be heard. So I called in, and
yeah,
you ended up having a group of us, and we had a conversation, and even
apparently no one will ever hear. Yeah.
Yeah, even though the public as a whole didn't hear us, it was actually nice to kind of get a little, small section of our community and get some one-on-one time. That was the first time I talked to Phil 98, and that was a good conversation. So that was kind of cool.
And Ricky, real quick, what was that joke that you said about Nick? You said his mama was a what? Oh, that was so great. That was so great. What was that joke again? Man, it's too bad no one else could hear it. We were all just dumping on you, Nick. I mean, it was a whole dump fest. We were like, hey, man, let's empty our notebooks on Pancake. It was terrific. It's too bad no one else heard it.
We haven't during that time.
Yeah, it was too bad no one else heard it. But oh boy, you missed the show, Nick. You missed it.
I've got quite the mouth on me, so there's no telling what I said.
Yeah. Okay.
But I do remember when somebody asked me if I thought we were going to blow out the Jaguars. I remember that one, and I said at this point, if it was the Jets' birthday, I wouldn't trust them to blow out the fucking candles.
That was a good one.
I do remember saying that.
That was a good one. Yeah,
dude. You know what? Just touching base on what you were talking about with Gastineau. I mean. Mm-hmm. In the football world, does it not kind of feel like Gastineau is our Pete Rose?
That's a good way to put it, in a different way, obviously, than some of the stuff we went through. But yeah, sort of. If you're, trying to compare some fruit here, yeah. I'm curious. The thing I don't know is how to, because we're Jet fans. That's Gastineau. Cincinnati Red fans. How do they feel? I don't know. I don't know a bunch of Cincinnati fans, so I don't know how they echo the stories of Pete Rose, but I know how Jet fans have always echoed the stories of Mark Gastineau, and most of the time it's been really good.
Look, Gastineau's really good, all-time great Jet, really good edge rusher, historical edge rusher. Is he of the same caliber player as Pete Rose was? Like, the whole thing about Pete Rose was simply his credentials on the field were obviously good enough for the Hall of Fame. He was going to be a no-doubter, no-brainer Hall of Fame. But then he cheated. He cheated the game by betting and all these other different things. That, to me, is a lot different than with Gastineau, at least at this point.
Yeah.
It's why I have a hard time comparing both, because Rose was a no-doubter. Gastineau, it was always going to be close because of the fact that, the sack statistic was not brought in until 81, was it? So
yes, right. Yes.
It was always going to be a question. It was always going to be on the fence, even though he was such a historically great edge rusher. Guess what? There are historically great centers that aren't in the Hall of Fame. There are historically great defensive linemen that aren't in the Hall of Fame. L.C. Greenwood being one of them. So I look at where Gastineau was historically, and if we're going to mention Pete Rose because of the off-field stuff, okay, but the off-field stuff is so different from each other that I have a hard time comparing both.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for Ricky, but what I think Ricky is saying is that just kind of our own, kind of, hidden problem child that really is talented and awesome, but he has this checkered past of different things that are preventing him from being spoken about in the true light that he would be. I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn there, Ricky.
No, not at all. Yeah, I wasn't so much comparing either their careers or their offenses. It was just more of hey, we've got our guy too, and is he ever going to make it? like that's kind of where I was coming from.
Yeah. I got you. Then I take that all back. I take that all back. Apologies.
No, it's all good. I completely agree with everything you said. But it like we always like this topic comes up every so often, and like always in the back of my mind when I hear it, I think, good Lord, man, he's such a good player. Like, is he ever going to get in? And I know a lot of baseball fans feel the same way about Pete. So,
of course,
that was the only real comparison that I had there. And yesterday was a little bit crazy. I know a lot of us think that the team is cursed, and I'm thinking, hell, has the curse reached all the way to our live streams now? Like it's whacking us fans too.
Yeah.
But if it makes you feel any better, I saw back-to-back Jake Asman shows with no sound right after you as well.
Okay.
So you were not the only one. It was a nationwide thing up until I think around noon or something before they got it ironed out.
Wow, Ricky, can you do me a favor? Can you tell Jake Asman to step off my business, stop trying to copy my stuff? So he grabs the raffle idea. I'm like, fine, okay, you want to do that. Now he wants to grab my silent show idea. I came up with that. That is a Boy Green patent of shows you can watch where it's a show about nothing that you hear nothing. I did that for an hour yesterday, and this bastard comes in and says, let me give it a whirl. Come on, back off, Jake. Come on. Respect my territory, for God's sakes. Unbelievable.
You know what? The funny thing is that's exactly what I did. The very first thing that I said to him yesterday was exactly that, Paul. Unfortunately, he couldn't hear me.
Oh, well, damn be damned, I suppose. But I appreciate you trying to represent and defend my turf here, Ricky. That's a mas importante to the Esden residents here. I appreciate you.
Well, I'm not going to keep you guys a lot longer. Everybody knows there'll be plenty more from me. This machine gun mouth of mine is back. The silencer is off, and everybody's going to have to hear it.
All right, beautiful. Ricky, thanks, brother. I appreciate you. And we have another gifted membership. Good Lord have mercy. MFC. Shout out to Gary Pape. You are now a member to the Boy Green Coffee Club, and MFC has increased his membership count to 17 gifted this month. He is well within this race, baby, and it is getting pretty spicy. We love to see it. All right, Nick, do you have time for one more call?
Absolutely.
Let's friggin' go. And this guy was the first comment on the stream this morning, and he finishes off last. How poetic. Indeed, Jets, God bless.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Beautiful, man. It's a beautiful day.
Hey, we talk about how bad that, Rodgers has been and the offense. But, here's a stat for you. If you guys are football guys, so if your defense knows the next play is a guaranteed pass play, do you play defense different?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So here's a stat for you. Do you know that we average one time in the last 5 games, one time per game, and we average roughly 60 plays a game. One time per game where we run back-to-back rushing attempts. So, if you look at all the plays, we never run the ball twice in a row. So, if you're a defensive coordinator and you see this pattern, and all of a sudden you see Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, whoever, running the ball, what's the next play? The next play is a pass play. If you look back through all our plays, we average only one time a game where we run back-to-back rushing attempts. So if you're going to give that defense that kind of advantage, I mean, if I can see it as a fan, these $1 million coordinators are figuring this shit out too.
It makes me appreciate Ben Johnson all the more when I see his creative, wacky reverse to your mama's, reverse to your grandma's reverse. I'm like, whoa, that was cool. And then I see the Jets run a trap play. I'm like, huh. It just makes me appreciate, like, wow, look at Ben Johnson here. Look at Todd Downing here. It just makes me really appreciate the difference when you see what great looks like and what mediocre looks like. It's wonderful.
But you don't. I see that as it's almost like they're setting up Rodgers for a disadvantage because. The first play of the game the other day was a 1st and 10. What does Allen do? Rush for 7 yards. What's the next play? The next play is 2nd and 3, and they pass it. A defensive coordinator is going to figure that out. So what do you tell your defensive ends? when you're calling a play. Hey, you see a run play, the next one, you just go after Rodgers. It doesn't matter. You're not even looking for run anymore.
Yeah.
And that to me is just that's just another reason why the epic fail of every single coach on this team. If we can see that, what do you think these defensive coordinators are just foaming at the mouth for? Soon as the run play is done, we're going after him. We're sending the house.
Well, I'm just not sure if all the defensive coordinators have the mind that Indy Jets has. So I'm not quite sure if they've caught up so far. But
Indy, I gotta ask a question. I gotta ask a question.
Yeah.
Do you know who Mike Fisher is?
I've heard the name, but vaguely, no.
Okay, I gotta be honest. So I work for him currently with Athlon Sports. He's been a Cowboys reporter for decades. You look and sound almost exactly like him. So you jumped on today, and I'm like, what the hell's Mike doing on here? Well, I thought he was a Cowboys fan. What are we doing here?
Yeah. Well, I think I'm hoping that I never have to, stoop so low as to go work for the Cowboys.
Yeah. That's probably for the best.
But what do you think, Nick? What do you think? Do you think that is a response? Part of the reason why we have just had such an epic fail of a season.
It's another layer to the reason why. I'm not going to sit here and say it's the reason, because the long list of reasons are it's going to fill out a 30 for 30 at one point eventually. But listen, this team, and this is kind of why I say Mike Vrabel isn't exactly the best fit for what this team needs. This team needs young offensive blood, a guy to bring them into the 21st century of how to develop quarterbacks and develop offensive players. They've got a good collection of stars. It's just a matter of they have no idea how to use any of them. Malachi Corley was drafted in the 3rd round, and he was seen as a guy Deebo Samuel-like. He's not a great route runner, so you got to get him, manufacture him touches in order for him to figure out exactly how good, how dependable he can be. And they just refuse to do it all year. They simply refuse to do so. And they can talk about plays, they can talk about this, but the way you get more plays is by picking up first downs. And it's nowhere near as bad as it was in 2023. They simply refuse to use him in a Deebo Samuel-like role. That is a complete reflection on coaching. I would like to see how Malachi Corley looks with Joe Brady, or Ben Johnson, Todd Monken, these kind of offensive minds that know how to develop quarterbacks, but also know how to call offensive plays.
Do you think Stefanski's going to get fired?
No, I don't think so. I think if there's ever a hope that he is, the Jets should be essentially driving over, picking him up, and not letting him leave the car before he signs the contract. But I don't see it happening.
Exactly. I think that if he's not on the list because he's not available, but
that's the outlier to me.
If he happens to just get, if the rumor's even out there that he's getting fired, we're driving to Cleveland, we're flying the Jets plane. I don't care what you do. And when he walks out of that, we send our own people there to help him pack his office.
Yep.
Yeah,
but I don't see him being fired.
Yeah, Indy, thanks for that. And let's also do this in closing. Let's give a massive happy birthday to Alan Lazard. It is Alan Lazard's birthday, the team leader in receiving touchdowns. Somehow, despite only playing 8 games so far this season, he has the same amount of touchdowns as our guy, Garrett Wilson. So let's give a massive shout out to Alan Lazard, who I will be honest, last year I was like, screw this guy. This guy friggin' sucks. But you know what? He's had a wonderful bounce back. So, again, a shout out to him. He is 29 years young today. Give a salute to Alan Lazard.
Incredible.
Beautiful. Well, first, Nick, thank you so much for joining us, man. And we'll do this again next week. Thanks, brother.
Yeah, appreciate it. Sorry for being late, dude.
Oh, not at all. Beautiful. We had a great show. Nick Ferrier, Jets reporter for Athlon Sports, one of the best in the business. And yes, I was just teasing Nick. Yeah, there was no joke really said, but because it couldn't be confirmed, it was just a joke. So Ricky, you didn't say this joke against Nick that I'm aware of. But it was just funny because it was a muted show, so we could say whatever we want. It was just a joke. Thank you, FFL98, for picking up my scraps there. I appreciate that, helping me out. God bless everybody. Thanks for joining. Fun show. Thank you for all the support, all the gifted memberships, baby. This raffle is going to be crazy. We're only 11 days in, and you guys have been so giving to the show, which is awesome. And hopefully we could give massively to you guys, and all the people that were involved in our gifting will gift back with, again, the emoji giveaway, and also our raffle ticket prize giveaway, which should be a lot of fun. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow morning for Boy Green Daily, baby. Can't wait. We'll see you guys then. God bless. Take